It's been bothering me lately that I don't fully know what was up with Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker. Despite being the biggest Star Wars fan going, I still haven't worked out what was going on with Sheev in Rise of Skywalker. Now, for any eagle-eyed viewers, they would have noticed that in one of the climactic scenes to Return of the Jedi, Sheev was subject to a workplace assault, when his best friend Anakin picked him up and threw him down an elevator shaft. Palpatine subsequently exploded. If anyone missed it, here's that scene again. Now, when watching this, I presumed, evidently incorrectly, Palpatine met his demise. I mean, I fell for the oldest trick in the book. If you don't see the body of the deceased person, the character can't be dead. It doesn't matter if they have experienced what can only be described the biggest drop in human history. I mean, look how deep this pit is. Palpatine literally disappears into the abyss. Not to mention, the man literally explodes. For me, this seemed pretty cut and dry. Palpatine was no more.
Psych!
Fast forward 30 or so years, and apparently Palpatine has been knocking about the entire time. Just chilling beneath some floating rocks, cloning Snokes, and being applauded by a crowd of 10,000 people. Palpatine in this time as well hired a lot of contractors, as he was able to build the biggest star fleet ever. To be honest, Palpatine's return was incredibly bizarre to me. That this character, hell-bent on being the ultimate ruler, would essentially go into hiding for 30 years, despite being incredibly powerful, evidenced by the fact he was able to survive this. Palpatine still decided to just sit around for 30 years. Palpatine's return clearly pointed to writers of Star Wars having no real fresh ideas for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And instead of doing something new and interesting with the trilogy, it ultimately became a reboot of the original trilogy. And I don't like the prequels, but at least they were a little different. I am, though, a strong believer in any idea can be good as long as it is executed well. So I had an open mind when Rise of Skywalker brought back the Dark Lord of the Sith, despite his apparent demise. However, the Emperor is barely in the film, and when he is, his plan is nonsensical and his return even more baffling. Every time the Emperor was on screen, I sighed the entire time and was bored of all his scenes. I mean, this guy is iconic. He should steal the scene whenever he is present.
Anything to say about it? I have.
However, we just get boring scenes of pointless dialogue which never explain how he returned or what he actually wants to achieve. First of all, he wants Rey dead, and then he wants Rey to kill him, as that will result in his spirit going into her. Rey refuses, but ultimately kills Palpatine, and his spirit does not transfer over to Rey. And don't tell me she didn't actually kill him because she just deflected his lightning bolts back into him. That's like saying, well, it wasn't me who shot you, it was the gun. Or the classic, stop hitting yourself.
If you get hit, it's your own fault.
Okay, then I'm gonna start kicking air like this. And if any part of you should feel that air, it's your own fault.
Rey knows what she is doing. She can see Palpatine isn't particularly enjoying his electrocution, and the biggest giveaway that Palps might not actually survive this deflection of lightning is the fact his flesh is stripped away, leaving nothing but ash. Rey killed Palpatine, so why couldn't his spirit enter Rey? But this video isn't about how much I loathed Palpatine's return in Star Wars, although I could talk for hours about why this is probably the worst decision within the sequel trilogy, which is saying a lot when the Canto Bight scene exists, or this scene.
Mary Poppins!
No, instead, I am on an Indiana Jones-esque mission to actually find out how Palpatine managed to survive this horrific event, because to be honest, that survival is more interesting than his actual return. Now, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I read a lot of the comics, play the games, watch The Mandalorian, I even have a Star Wars card trivia game. You know, big Star Wars fan stuff. However, despite my vast knowledge of Star Wars, I don't actually know what was going on with Palpatine and his return in the film. But I don't know what was going on with Palpatine and his return. The film kind of tries to explain it, first with this line ripped from Revenge of the Sith.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Which to me suggests, I'm a Sith Lord, it's hard to kill me, which was an explanation I was kind of okay with. I don't mind it being vague and just for me to accept he is a bad guy, he knows bad guy things, but then Rise of Skywalker tries to explain again with this.
Dead. Dark science. Cloning. Secrets only the Sith knew.
And things didn't make a lick of sense. So it's dark magic but cloning as well? Oh, and cloning is only a secret the Siths knew. Well, that doesn't add up. If it was a secret only the Siths knew, why didn't Obi-Wan and Kamino, when introduced to the clones, didn't he just say, well, hold up, only Siths know about clones, so what the actual fuck is this, you lanky prick? So I checked on Twitter for the answer, and a lot of people said the novelization actually explains how Emperor Palpatine managed to return in Rise of Skywalker.
Book recommendation? I can't read.
After much deliberation though, I decided to finally type those fateful words into Google. How did the Emperor return in Rise of Skywalker? Basically the answer goes like this. The Palpatine seen in Rise of Skywalker is the spirit of the original one shoved into an artificial clone body, and the sheer power of the Emperor was causing the vessel to degrade. So the Palpatine we see in Rise of Skywalker isn't really Palpatine. That Palpatine is dead. Remember, he fell so many thousands of feet, so he's dead, he's definitely dead. But before hitting the ground, the Emperor managed to transfer his spirit to Lord knows where, and that eventually went into this clone. So did he have this clone ready on ice? Probably, I guess. That does seem a little weird to me, as the Emperor quite naturally was screaming during his fall and looked pretty preoccupied with the horrors of falling thousands of feet whilst his hands were shooting out electricity. Evidently, during this highly traumatic experience, the Emperor found the time to carry out what can only be described as perhaps one of the most complex procedures ever. Now, I would say transferring your consciousness to an artificial body probably takes a lot of power and a lot of focus. It's not like downloading a zip file from an email, but apparently that's all the Emperor had to do. Type in artificial clone body at emperor.com and just send off his consciousness. Some would say the explanation of having an artificial clone ready for you is convenient, and yeah, you're right. To be honest, this opens up so many plot holes. I think one of the main plot holes for me was when the Emperor died again, how could he not transfer his consciousness into another body? I mean, the Emperor says right at the start of Rise of Skywalker, he has cheated death many times.
I have died before.
So why was this the time he couldn't cheat death? I mean, I'm sure there's an explanation somewhere, but researching this depressed me so much and I realised how bad Rise of Skywalker was, I didn't want to go any further. To be honest, I tried to find out what was going on with Snoke, but it seems there are not many answers as to why Palpatine had so many clones of Snoke on ice ready to use. Because I mean, if clones can't handle Force users and they decay, then why wasn't Snoke decaying? I mean, he was a little, I guess, but why did the Emperor need Snoke? Couldn't he just reveal himself 30 years prior? I mean, he is still pretty fucking powerful, even in a decaying body. What I'm trying to ask is, what was the purpose of Snoke if the Emperor was already knocking about? I think I have the answer, and it goes like this. The sequel trilogy wasn't planned, and they rushed out the finale despite having a clear lack of ideas.
I have beautiful, pristine yellow tablets, ready to go. Nice fresh blocks of pencils. I'm all set. All I need is an idea.
So there you have it. The Emperor was a clone and a crap character who broke my heart in Rise of Skywalker. To be honest, I have no idea why Rise of Skywalker never addressed how this guy was able to return, despite clearly dying 30 years prior. And I don't think the argument of slowing momentum of the film is an excuse that flies, to be honest. I feel that knowing Palpatine's status does improve the overall story. Revealing how Palpatine came back stops the nagging question of how he has managed to return. but the information also helps clarify Palpatine's motivations. He wants a new body because his Clone One is decaying. It's decaying because he's too powerful for a clone vessel, hence he requires a suitable replacement. Bing bang boom, I get the plot, the motivations, and I hold back my anger of this film until Rey and Kylo kiss. It appears though the clone explanation wasn't hastily pulled together, as Ian McDiarmid did confirm in the original script the reveal was part of it, and to be honest, it should have been included. You are dealing with some of the most recognisable characters in the world. Fans expect some sort of explanation for their returns. It was an element that needed to be explained compared to, say, where did Han Solo get his last name from?
Solo.
Explaining a character's absence for 30 years, especially where they exploded, is necessary to the plot, no matter how it affects momentum. And there you have it. That's how Palpatine was able to return in Rise of Skywalker. I feel the explanation raised more plot holes than it actually solved, but it's the plot we've got. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.